Welcome back to Kindling, where the ancient spark of storytelling is kept alive, one tale at a time. I'm Awe, your storyteller, and today we are traveling to the lush landscapes and island shores of Guinea-Bissau, a small West African country bursting with cultural diversity. Here's something you might not know. In Guinea-Bissau, there are over 20 different ethnic groups living side by side, each with its own unique language, customs, and of course, stories. Now, the Bijagor people, for instance, are a people who live on scattered islands in the country and are known for their deep connection to nature and their powerful initiation rituals that blend storytelling, dance, and masks. Now, in this particular tale today from the Bijagor people, we meet a little bird called the kinancoi and an owl who isn't quite as powerful as he seems. So gather close, settle in, and let me tell you the story of the clever kinancoi and the owl's secret. Once, long ago, on the edge of the shimmering sea, where the mangroves whispered stories to the tides and the palm trees danced in the wind, two unlikely travelers set out on a journey. One was the little kinancoi, a clever, quiet little bird with sharp eyes and a soft voice. The other was the owl, proud and loud and full of himself, with two tufts of feathers standing straight up on his head like horns. The owl strutted wherever he went, and he never missed a chance to boast. "Do as I say, the owl would snap, puffing up his feathers, "or I'll strike you down with my mungumungu." Now, of course, no one really knew what mungumungu meant, but the owl always flared his horn-like feathers when he said it. The little kinancoi, of course, being smaller and slightly unsure, didn't dare argue. He simply bowed his head and obeyed. Now, one day, the two travelers reached an island where a kind man welcomed them into his home and offered them some rest. "You are my guests," the man said. "Rest well. Eat, sleep, drink, and enjoy yourselves for a few days." And so, of course, the two agreed. The travelers decided to take a few days' rest in the kind man's home. Each morning, however, the owl would order the little kinancoi around. "Fetch me water from the bathroom," he barked. And, of course, the little kinancoi, although slightly hesitant, had to do what he was told. "Kinancoi," barked the owl, "do it, or I will hurt you with my mungumungu." And so, of course, the kinancoi had to obey. He was afraid of being attacked by those strange horn-like feathers that sat on the owl's head, and he continued to do as he was told, quietly and patiently. Now, one evening, the man of the house brought home a large calabash full of delicious palm wine, 10 liters full, sweet, fresh, and fragrant. "My friends," he said, gathering the two together, smiling, "drink this. It is for you. Enjoy it." Well, the owl, of course, immediately pushed himself forward, puffing out his chest. "Kinancoi, pour me some wine at once. I should have it first, since I am the chief." Well, the kinancoi didn't argue. He dutifully poured the wine, gave it to the owl, and watched. Well, the owl drank it greedily, of course, cup after cup, until eventually his head began to wobble and his wings were drooping. "Ah!" the owl sighed, staggering the owl. "Oh, what a fine night. I think I'm going to rest now." And with that, he flopped down and began snoring, his feathers twitching. The kinancoi continued to sit and watch silently. Something had been bothering him for a few days. He was wondering about those so-called horns. Were they real, or were they just feathers? He decided it was time now to find out, and so he crept over to the owl and gently blew over the top of his head. A soft puff, then another. Well, of course, the air stirred and the tufts opened to reveal nothing. No horns, just two silly feathers sticking up like grass in the breeze. Well, the sleepy owl now murmured in his sleep, what a delightful breeze. The kinancoi's eyes now sparkled with knowledge. So it was all a bluff after all. He smiled to himself, and now, without fear, he decided to kick his foot and tip over the bucket of water that he had fetched that morning. Splash! The water went everywhere. The owl suddenly woke up, wet and completely confused, blinking blearily. Kinancoi, he screeched, where's my water? The water is gone, the kinancoi said calmly. I spilled it. The owl was confused. Fetch more water then. Fetch it now. But the kinancoi stood firm. No, today I will not fetch you any more water. You fetch it yourself. Well, the owl flared up his feathers. Do it, or I will use my mungumungu. But the kinancoi did not flinch. He stepped forward and said clearly and confidently, enough. I know your secret now. Those aren't horns on your head. They are just feathers. If you try to threaten me again, I will pull them off and show everyone here who you truly are. The owl blinked, stunned. What did you say? In fact, the kinancoi said, let's call the man of this house and settle this matter once and for all. And so indeed, they called the man of the house, who listened to the dispute and decided, the only way to solve this argument is a fair contest. We shall see who is the braver. And so it was decided, and everything was prepared for the two to have a duel. Well, there in the square stood the kinancoi and the owl pacing back and forth, trying to look fierce, puffing up his feathers and his chest, and the kinancoi standing perfectly still, completely calm. Well, when the two approached each other, ready to fight, the kinancoi simply blew a puff of air, and of course the owl's feathers parted and lifted, and the truth was plain to see. Ha! No horns! Shouted all the children who'd, of course, gathered to watch the fight. Ha ho! They're just feathers! And they all fell about laughing. Well, the owl froze. His bluff had been exposed. He was embarrassed, and so, not knowing what else to do, he turned away and flew off up into the forest where no one could laugh at him again. From that day on, the owl refused to live near people. He stayed deep in the woods, high up in the palm trees, only coming out at night when everyone else was asleep. And the clever kinancoi? Well, he went on his way, walking a little bit taller and smiling just a little bit more. And that is where the story ended. And so we see how quickly false power fades. The owl's secret was uncovered not with force, but with cleverness and with quiet courage. The kinancoi teaches us that true strength doesn't come from threats or using fear. It comes from knowing the truth and standing your ground. Bluff and bluster may scare others away for a time, but the truth, of course, always comes out. Now, this story also reminds us that appearances, of course, can be deceiving, and that even the smallest among us can outsmart a bully. Well, remember that you can let us know your thoughts on any of our stories in the comments down below. And of course, do let us know if you know another version of one of these stories, or if you have a suggestion that you would like us to feature in our series. Until the next episode, remember, the wisdom of the ancients lives on in every tale we tell. So, keep telling stories.